Congressman. Thank you for being here. Good to see you again. I represent the 1st District of Kansas, which is a good bit of the western 2/3 of Kansas. We produce a lot of beef, a lot of wheat, a lot of sorghum. We're the number 3 ag producing district in the country. You know, our ag producers work hard every day to deliver the food that feeds all of us and people around the world, and I appreciate that you oversee the markets that help our ag producers manage risk. You know, think about agriculture, such a risky business, and we can take a little bit of the risk out of it by being able to hedge some of, not all of, some of the market risk, which I appreciate that. You know, early March, 4 years ago, the COVID pandemic was starting to hit. I think most people remember where they were when the NCAA basketball tournament got canceled. We've got to remember that not a single ag producer in my district around the country took time off. They continue to go to the fields, feed their cattle, do the work that they do to feed us. But here we are 4 years later, and we still have a lot of people at CFTC and other government agencies for that matter that still have not returned back to their offices for work. Could you comment on that, and specifically what I should tell my ag producers who are working every day when they find out that there are folks at the CFTC that haven't even returned to their office yet? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Congressman, I would say, first thing I would tell them is that the chairman of the agency agrees with you, that I think it's extremely important that we're together, we're in the office, and we're collaborating and we're discussing issues that are extremely important to the American economy and all Americans, farmers, ranchers, and others. Just to give you a little bit of a sense of our current posture, I have about 700 full-time employees. I have about 180 managers, and the managers, by my request, are coming in 2 days a week. I call it my quasi-cabinet, the leadership team, which is about 10 to 15 individuals, are coming in 3 days a week. My direct team and myself, we're in 4 or 5 days a week. There is a large portion of the agency, approximately 500 individuals, who are either a part of the National Treasury Employee Union, the NTEU, or not necessarily a part of the union, but not managers either. And that is where we are in ongoing negotiations to determine essentially the future of our work posture at the CFTC. My position and my strategy from day one, which I would say was probably late 2021, maybe early 2022, when folks started shifting back to work in person, is to play the long game. And I hate to use sort of a phrase there, but the impact that the decision that's going to be made, that's going to determine the work posture, will be one that will likely have an impact for decades to come. So I haven't wanted to rush it. We are negotiating with the union and its representatives in good faith. I am mindful and very much support being in the office and being together and collaborating, understanding the risk that our markets have and having to have those bits of communication, whether it's near a water cooler or by our office. But I'm also mindful of the current work environment, that hybrid does work and that we have to give some level of balance. So I'm trying to strike the right balance, bring folks back, but negotiate in good faith, with patience, and ultimately come up with an outcome that's suitable for everyone.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I appreciate your take on the issue. Feel free to let the union know as you're negotiating that there's at least one member of the Ag Committee that is very concerned about this, and I know there are others as well. But remind them that they're overseeing markets that you have people that literally lay on the line 7 days a week, and it's hard for them to understand when folks are in the office 0 days, 1 day, 2 days a week. It just makes no sense. With my remaining time, would like to quickly touch on Basel III, which I know is mentioned a couple times here. You know, Basel, bamboozle. When you name something, I know you didn't name it, when you name something Basel III Endgame, it sounds like an Avengers movie, right? I mean, it causes concern and skepticism, as it should, across Kansas and across the country. Any comments? You know, I hear regularly from folks that are concerned that these proposals are going to drive banks to scale back or even abandon clearing services altogether. Any thoughts on what your agency is getting ready to do as this hits, and how do we pick up the pieces and make sure that markets stay intact and we continue to deliver the risk management tools that our ag producers need?
Congressman, thanks for the question. You know, my intention from the start has to put together a team of experts at the CFTC and to go work with our fellow regulators at the Fed, at the OCC, at the FDIC, and to help inform them the best we can about what we're seeing in our markets, the changes that have occurred. I mentioned this to the chairman, the concentration of participants and players, the lack of access, and services for smaller participants, and the importance of the diversity of participants in this pool so that, you know, farmers and ranchers in Kansas can have access to futures markets. You hit the nail on the head when you said the futures markets are not going to eliminate all of your risk, but it can be a part of a larger toolbox, some of the commodity programs over at USDA, to mitigate risk and reduce it to a point where that farmer can go into planting season every March or April and feel confident they're going to come out during harvest on the right end of the season. Ultimately, we have to make sure that banking regulators understand what we're seeing in our markets, that there is an incentive to clear, and in order to clear, we need FCMs and brokers offering these services to all constituents. So we will continue working with them as the prudential, the banking regulators finalize a rule, and we will keep harping on the importance of derivatives markets, clearing, and making sure that we're not laying on unnecessary, burdensome rules that will essentially create further concentration and ultimately increased risk in the markets.
Which will lead to higher food costs for all of us. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here.